Welcome back to the CriblCon 25 CriblCast News Desk. It is a crazy day here in Washington, D.C. My name is Bradley Chambers, back with you. I have Francis Odum from Software Analyst Cyber Research. Francis, this has been a wild day. What's been your favorite part so far?
It has been a wild day, I will say. It's been very busy, but a lot of fun, to be very honest. It's been really amazing. Favorite part of the day, honestly, beyond the breakfast, the snacks and everything, I think it's been two things. I think one, the energy. I think at the keynote speaking event, I really love the costumes. I love the framework you guys used around just setting the context, keeping the energy, keeping going. I thought Clint's piece about AI and agentic really changing a lot of how we do and how we think about telemetry pipeline and how we go about giving customers control over their data and even managing their cost was amazing. So that was amazing. The keynote was amazing. I felt like I was in the cinema watching a little bit of Star Wars or something of that sort. And then I think the other part of my day is analysts as myself, we got the opportunity to speak to customers of yours, got to speak to quite a few of them as well, and then really got to interact with them, getting a good sense of their experience with the platform, and I think those have been really good sessions today.
Well, I look at the era we're entering with this agentic AI era, with agentic telemetry, and the only analogy that comes to mind for me, and I think this is where history doesn't really repeat itself, but it rhymes, was pre-high-speed internet, and like when you think about dial-up to high-speed internet, and like that just unlocked a lot of new opportunities for business, but also a lot of challenges. I mean, because that dramatically changed cybersecurity. When things go faster, things can break and things can get missed. How do organizations need to think about how they build flexible infrastructure for this like next wave of agentic AI?
100%. I think it's a very interesting time in technology. I think everyone acknowledges, some people are tired of the word AI, but I think also at the back of everyone's mind, this is real. This stuff is real from how we all use it in our day-to-day life, ChatGPT now for almost every question. And I think as we think about the enterprise type use cases, I think one thing is for certain is pre-ChatGPT, pre-LLM, pre-AI, we already knew data was growing at an exponential rate. Now, think about the capabilities we've had as a result of AI and agentic AI within our enterprise. And we're still very much in the early onset. And now I think the data growth is going to be significantly exponential. And I think a lot of security and IT teams are really going to be struggling with this growth of volume of data. And we know subsequently with that growth of volume of data, it's going to lead to a lot of complexities within the enterprise stack today. So I think a lot of what we advise our clients with the research that we do is, look, you need to make sure you have some type of a solution that helps you ingest and manage the complexities that will come from data, as well as even the cost of storing, ingesting, and keeping those data. So we think AI is yet to stay. It's going to bring a lot of challenges for security, but it's also going to empower a lot of security teams and IT teams today.
Well, you think about, we don't really know what 2028, 2030 is going to look like, but we know we're going to have a lot more data. Yes. And so that really reinforces the need for building a flexible infrastructure that can grow with you. What are in your view, what are the biggest challenges that today's IT teams, struggle with when onboarding and transporting data from all these AI systems?
Yeah, I think we talked about it. It's like just the growth, the volume of data is one teams are going to grapple with, and even going to have more challenges going forward with. I think that's going to be a big one. I think compliance, honestly, right now is increasingly going to be a big one for whether it's data masking, which I was very impressed with some of the new features I saw today from Cribl around Cribl Stream and Guard, and I think this really helps teams manage that whole data masking and complexity issues as well. But I think today now, compliance is only going to grow us, right? I mean, if we thought we had compliance issues before, it's only going to get worse now in terms of how we go about managing that, the growth, volume of data, and then just the infrastructure in terms of how we actually manage and set up stacks to manage all these volumes of data. I think it's a big challenge a lot of enterprises today are facing. So these are just a few of the biggest challenges that are going to come as a result of AI. But I think on the other hand, it's good to seek new capabilities aiming at solving some of these challenges.
We at Cribl have often often talked about human in the loop, and like we don't want an AI agent like in the data stream changing things, as data is ingested. You want to be involved in there, and you want to leverage AI to really increase your productivity, but not where things can break, and you've got major compliance issues, you've got missing data. How do companies manage like these agents working alongside humans together?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very good question, and that was one of the things that stood out from Clint's talk this morning was the role of human in the loop, right? I know you guys announced an agentic telemetry earlier today, and I think one of the things that I'm actually I'm quite confident is really, no matter how much agents become extremely intelligent, we're never going to have a complete security team being run by agents, right? Or an observability run by agents. I think you're going to have to work side by side and hand in hand. And I think one of the biggest use cases is, you might have a sensitive data set, where you don't want your agent looking at this, or you want a human to actually verify before we block or we stop a production like environment. And so I think it's going to have to be, we're going to have to learn to work alongside a lot of agents today within our enterprise stack. And I think we're never going to get to a situation where AI and agents completely take over the stack. I think it's always going to be, but one thing is for certain, a lot of the tasks that we do today, we're seeing this happening today whereby agents will be able to significantly cut down the time of a lot of the low redundant tasks, all right? And a lot of these as it relates to how we think about telemetry pipelines today.
Well, I really think about, 20 years ago, somebody's job was like unboxing PCs, imaging them and installing them. Nobody does that anymore. Like this technology just handles that. And you wouldn't have envisioned in 2005 when you're imaging a Windows XP computer that in 2025 you just open the computer and it would configure itself automatically. That feels like magic. So I think oftentimes in technology we may overestimate like the next 12 months, but we dramatically underestimate the next 12 years. Yes. What companies will produce. Once companies get the control and choice and flexibility over telemetry data with a solution from Cribl, what do they get? What do they unlock?
I think a big piece, and we heard this from a lot of customers, quite frankly, a lot of the customers is, number one is the cost control, right? Right now, obviously, we have a lot of monolithic and legacy systems today where everyone's centralizing all of that data. And as a result of a capability, obviously, like Cribl, and we're seeing a number of the costs actually significantly reduced, because now you could actually triage, you could filter out, you could actually pass out most of the data you don't need anymore, right? That goes into that sim. So we're hearing a lot of customers of yours, of Cribl, really speaking to the fact that they're cutting costs. So that's one, and just even managing how they manage costs across their whole infrastructure stack. I think number two is just the control, right? In the sense of like, now I don't feel burdened by sending data into one location.
Right.
With a capability like Cribl now, I could actually send solutions into multiple different locations. You might have a data lake, you might have an S3 bucket, you might have a bunch of different locations, and now you're no longer a stay for them. So you have this element of control, And I think the last piece is around just managing complexity, right? To manage all of the different logs, traces, metrics, logs, and event data that you're getting from different types of applications, from different types of systems, Windows and the like of those systems. I think you have this one control plane that literally helps you take it into one. Because one of the interesting things I heard a lot actually from customers today was the fact that a lot of the solutions where, again, telemetry pipeline solutions like Cribl and some other ones even on the market is today, pre-Cribl, what you had was a situation where teams had a number of 3 to 4 different solutions actually helping you to stitch together all of these filtering and passing capabilities. And one thing we heard actually very impressively was, as opposed to having 4 different solutions and different processes across all of these, you just have one management control plane that helps you manage where all of your different sources, and then you send it out. And so that element of flexibility in terms of how customers use, are really what we've heard from an analyst perspective.
Well, Francis, we're so thankful you made the trip out here. It's been a fun day. As more advanced technology gets, I'm more convinced that the people aspect of the technology business is critical, and that trust and that cooperation, and really coming. And that's where our partners are so critical, coming alongside us with our customers in that very consultative approach, not just like, hey, we're going to sell you something. It's like, we're probably trying to solve. And that's where IT buying has changed. It used to be, hey, I want to buy a server from you. I want to get these exchange licenses, or I'm going to buy these computers from you. Exactly. Now it's like, what problem are you trying to solve? And we don't want to sell you something to sell you something. We want to sell you something that solves a problem.
Absolutely.
But we're so thankful. Thank you for being here. It's been a great day. Thank you for everybody for tuning in. This has been Bradley Chambers from the CriblCon 25 CriblCast News Desk, and we'll be back later with more interviews.